The alien fleet arrived over Earth with one mission. Observe the safe region. Avoid the dangerous humans. They believed humans were the weakest part of the planet. They were wrong. The Galactic Scientific Community classified Earth as a class 11 Death World. Gravity, dangerous. Weather, unstable. Ocean life, aggressive. Microorganisms, hostile. But reports suggested something unusual. A small farming town in Kansas showed low crime, stable weather, and no major predators. The Union believed it was the safest place on Earth. Commander Varex led the mission. He was calm, logical, brilliant. "We will avoid contact with dominant bipeds," he ordered. We studied quietly. No interference. 5 stealth pods landed. In a cornfield at night, the aliens stepped out carefully. Soft air. Mild temperature? No visible predators. "Surprisingly pleasant," said Science Officer Tal, in the distance. A farmhouse light flickered on. Varric scanned the house. 1 human. Life form detected. Elderly non-threat profile. They relaxed. A quiet old farmer. Should not be dangerous. They were wrong. The barn door slowly opened. An old man stepped out, wearing overalls, and holding a shotgun. He squinted at the field. "Either I drank too much sweet tea," he muttered, "or that corn just grew legs." The aliens froze. "Remain calm," whispered Virex. The old man lifted his shotgun. "All right," he said loudly. "If you're the government, say so. If you ain't, blink twice." The aliens did not blink. The man sighed. "Great, it's aliens." He lowered the shotgun. "You're here peaceful? Or do I gotta call my wife?" Commander Varex processed the sentence. Why would he call another human instead of military defense? Tal scanned again. Second life form, inside house. Female. Elevated heart rate, the old man yelled, toward the house. "Martha, we got space visitors." Inside, a woman's voice shouted back, "Well, tell them take off their shoes before they come in." The aliens stood in silence. This did not match any invasion protocol. This was not fear. This was hospitality. Commander Varex made a decision. Proceed with cultural study. They walked toward the farmhouse. Behind them, the stealth pods shimmered. In the moonlight, and inside the house, Martha was already boiling water. For tea? The aliens expected fear. They expected screaming. They expected the humans to panic instead. They were given cookies. Martha placed a plate on the wooden table. "Chocolate chip," she said proudly. "Fresh this morning." Commander Varex stared at the baked objects. Tal scanned them. High sugar content. Fat unknown compounds. The old farmer leaned back in his chair. "They ain't poison," he said. "Unless you're allergic to happiness." The aliens looked confused. "What is happiness?" whispered one of the junior scientists. "Emotion," Varex replied calmly. "Biochemical reaction in advanced species." The farmer bit into a cookie loudly. Grunch. C. Still alive. The aliens hesitated. Finally, Tal extended a thin claw and picked one up. He took a small bite. His internal chemistry sensors exploded with alerts. Sugar spike detected. Pleasure hormones rising. Neural stimulation elevated. He froze. "This is effective." Martha smiled. "That's butter, honey." Commander Varex took notes. The humans were primitive. Yet they created complex flavor chemistry for no survival reason. This was unusual. Outside, A loud engine roared. A pickup truck drove past the farmhouse. Music blasted from the speakers. The driver leaned out the window. "Hey, Hank, you got company?" Hank stood and waved casually. "Just some space tourists." The truck kept driving. No panic, no panic, sure. Just curiosity. Variks processed the situation. Why are they not alerting authorities? Hank shrugged. Authority'll show up eventually. They always do. Right on cue, flashing blue and red lights appeared down the road. A police vehicle stopped near the field. A deputy stepped out. Young, calm, eating something from a paper bag. He walked up to the porch and stopped. Looked at the aliens. Looked at Hank. "Evenin'?" "Evenin'," Hank replied. "You got aliens?" "Yep." The deputy nodded slowly. "Y'all here peaceful?" He asked the aliens. Commander Variks stood. "Yes. Scientific observation only." The deputy took another bite of his sandwich. "All right. Long as nobody's probing anyone." He turned back toward his car. "Oh, and welcome to Kansas." He drove away. The alien team sat frozen. This did not match any invasion scenario. No military defense. No mass hysteria. No hysteria. No panic, just casual acceptance. Tal whispered quietly. "Commander, are we certain humans are dominant predators on this world?" Variks answered slowly. "Yes. But they are not acting dominant." Hank laughed. "Oh, we are?" He pointed outside. "You just landed in the calm part?" The ground suddenly trembled. Slightly distant thunder rolled across the flat land. Martha looked toward the window. "Hank," she said quietly, "that sky don't look right." The aliens scanned the atmosphere. Pressure dropping rapidly, wind speeds increasing. Rotational storm pattern forming. "What is happening?" asked the junior scientist. Hank stood and grabbed his hat. "Well," he said calmly, "you're wanted to study Earth." He opened the front door. Dark clouds were spinning in the distance. "That right there is a tornado." Wind began to howl. Martha grabbed a flashlight. "Basement. Now?" The aliens did not move. "We are equipped for hazardous environments," Variks said. Hank looked at him seriously. "You ain't equipped for this." The tornado sirens began screaming. A low, terrifying wail across the town. The sky turned green. Green ... Voice trembled. "Commander!" Wind velocity rising to lethal levels. The old couple calmly walked toward the basement stairs. "Y'all coming, or are you gonna fly?" Martha asked. The house shook violently. Windows rattled. Roof creaked. The alien sensors began failing under debris impact. "Retreat," Variks ordered. They rushed toward the basement dots as they descended the stairs. The sound outside became monstrous, like a planet tearing itself apart. Commander Variks realized something. The humans were not dangerous because they were strong. They were dangerous because they survived things like this. Above them, the farmhouse groaned outside. The tornado screamed across Kansas. And the aliens understood for the first time. The planet itself was alive. And it did not care who you were. The tornado passed like a monster that lost interest. Silence came slowly. Dust floated in the basement air. The aliens stayed frozen for several seconds after the roaring stopped. Commander Variks finally spoke. "Surface scan." Tal activated his wrist device. Atmospheric pressure stabilizing. Wind speeds decreasing. Structural damage above. Hank opened the basement door. "All right," he said calmly. "Let's see what she took." They climbed back upstairs. The farmhouse still stood, but barely. Half. The roof was gone. The barn had collapsed. One of the alien landing ships in the field had been flipped upside down like a child's toy. Tal stared at the wreckage. That vessel was rated for asteroid impacts? Hank adjusted his hat, double quotes, yeah. Tornado, don't care. Across the flat land, debris was scattered for miles. Wood, metal, tractors, an entire cow. One of the junior alien officers whispered in disbelief. How does a civilization survive this? Hank didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the porch, grabbed a shovel, and stepped off calmly. Martha followed him with a toolbox. Within minutes, neighbors began arriving. Pickup trucks, ATVs. One man drove up on a riding lawnmower. Nobody screamed. Nobody panicked. They just started working. Fixing fences, pulling debris, checking on each other. One of the aliens asked quietly, "Where is the emergency command structure?" Hank overheard, "You're looking at it." Commander Verex watched in silence. The humans moved with efficiency. No orders given, no central command. They just knew what to do. One neighbor shouted, "Johnson's house took a hit." 3 trucks immediately drove off in that direction. No hesitation, no. DeBatol's voice trembled. This species does not require hierarchy to mobilize. Verex's eyes narrowed. Correct? Suddenly, one of the alien scouts rushed forward. "Commander! Communications ship destroyed. Primary uplink offline." The tornado had taken their only long-range relay. They were stranded. On Earth, Martha handed Tal a bottle of water. "You look pale," she said. Tal stared at the bottle. "I am not pale." She ignored him. "Drink, anyway." He hesitated, then complied. Electrolyte levels balanced immediately. The liquid was optimized for hydration, again. Humans created survival tools, casually, not advanced, just effective. A loud engine roared in the sky. The aliens looked up sharply. A small helicopter appeared, not military, painted yellow. It hovered above the town briefly before flying off. "Local news," Hank said. "They'll show up for the damage footage." Tal stared. "You allow media aircraft in disaster zones." Hank shrugged. "Freedom of press." Verex processed that phrase. Freedom. Press, uncontrolled information. Spread. The species did not operate under rigid systems. They thrived in chaos. Suddenly, a distant siren approached. Fire trucks, ambulances, police, the town now filled with organized emergency teams. Verex observed carefully. Phase 1, civilians stabilize. Phase 2. Official units arrive. No panic wave, no mass breakdown. The aliens began to understand. Humans were not built for comfort. They were built for survival. One of the alien soldiers approached Varex's commander. "The storm inflicted more damage to our ships than to their town." Varex looked at the horizon. "They build for disaster." Indeed, many homes had reinforced storm shelters. Backup generators, emergency supplies, food storage, water reserves. The aliens had advanced. Shields, but no basements. One of the younger alien scientists whispered nervously, "What if this was intentional? Explain." Verex demanded. "What if the planet selects for chaos-resistant life forms?" Verex didn't answer. Because the idea disturbed him. The ground rumbled suddenly. Not from wind. From something. Deeper, Tal scanned quickly. Minor tectonic activity detected. The humans barely reacted. One man laughed aftershock. Must be Texas shaking something loose again. The alien soldier blinked. Aftershock of what? Hank turned casually. Earthquake. Few states over. The alien team stared at him. Mean the planet shakes beneath you? Sometimes. And you remain. Yep, and build on it again. Sure do. The aliens felt something unfamiliar. Respect, suddenly, loud cheering, erupted from down the road. A group of humans gathered. Around a fallen power line, one of them shouted, "Got it?" Electricity flickered back on across half the town. Generators, HUMMED. Lights turned on. The aliens felt the hum of infrastructure, returning speed, efficiency, adaptability. Commander, Verix realized something critical. The Coalition classified Earth as a death world because of danger. They were wrong. Earth was not a death world, it was a forge. And humans were what came out of it, forged in chaos, tempered by disaster. Unbreakable, not because they were strong, but because they refused to stop. Verix turned slowly toward his remaining team. We are not observing prey. He watched Hank and Martha laughing as they nailed boards over broken windows. We are studying apex survivors. As the sun set behind ruined clouds, one of the alien ships sparked. Its power core finally died. Earth had defeated advanced alien engineering in one afternoon, and it hadn't even tried. Verix looked toward the distant storm horizon. This mission just became far more important, because now he was not asking if Earth was safe. He was asking something far more dangerous. What happens when a species like this decides to expand? The aliens thought the storm was the worst part. They were wrong. Because that evening, Hank said 5 terrifying words. "You're staying for dinner?" Commander Verix hesitated. He had faced plasma bombardment. He had commanded fleets over burning planets. But is this a social ritual? He asked carefully. Martha wiped her hands on her apron. "It's food," she smiled. "And conversation." The alien team exchanged nervous glances. Tal whispered, "Food is acceptable. Conversation is unpredictable." They followed the humans. Inside what remained of the farmhouse, half the roof was gone. Plastic sheets covered broken windows. One wall leaned slightly inward, and yet a table was set. Candles lit dot plates, arranged carefully. "How are you functioning normally after structural in?" "Devastation," one alien soldier asked. Hank shrugged. "Storm's over. Still hungry." The aliens sat carefully in chairs, not designed for 4-legged exoskeletons. Martha placed large metal trays in the center of the table. Steam rose. The smell hit them instantly. Spices roasted meat. Caramelized sugars. Toll's sensors flashed. Warnings and curiosity at the same time. "What is the protein source?" "Brisket," Hank said proudly. "Smoked 12 hours. 12 hours? Verix asked. "Yes." "For flavor?" The aliens froze. They used fusion cores to power cities. Humans used fire and patience to improve meat. A junior scientist leaned closer. "This species invests massive time into non-survival, taste enhancement." "Yes," Verix said quietly. "They optimize pleasure." Plates were filled. They tasted cautiously. Then everything changed. Commander Tal whispered, "I am experiencing joy." Verix took another bite. Noted. The conversation began. Hank asked about their planet. Martha asked if they had families. One alien described triple suns and acid seas. Hank nodded thoughtfully. "Sounds rough," Tal asked. Why do you remain on a planet that actively attempts to destroy you? Martha paused, looked at Hank, then answered softly. Because it's ours. Simple. Clear. Absolute. Subtly. Headlights filled the broken windows. More trucks, more neighbors. They carried dishes, casseroles, bread, pies, within minutes. The house filled with humans, laughing, teasing, passing plates around. One man pointed. At Verix, one of them space fellas. Yes, Verix answered cautiously. The man clapped him on the shoulder hard enough to make his arm a dent. Welcome to Kansas. No fear, no submission, no awe, just acceptance. Tal leaned toward Verix. They treat us as equals. Yes. But they do not know our combat superiority. Verix observed carefully. They do not care. A child approached one of the alien soldiers. Are you a good alien or a bad alien? She asked. The soldier froze. I am undecided. The child nodded seriously. Okay, but if you're bad, my dad has a shotgun. She skipped away. The alien soldier felt something. New. Fear. Not because of the weapon, but because she meant it. Suddenly, the power flickered out again. Darkness filled the house. Someone sighed. Hank stood up. Generator time. Within seconds, lights came back on. No panic, just adaptation. Later that night, as the humans laughed over something called fantasy football, Verix stepped outside. The sky was clear. Stars bright. Tal joined him. Commander, our fleet will return. Yes. And if they come with force. Verix watched the town. Humans fixing roofs under flashlight beams. Sharing food. Checking on each other. They will not retreat, Verix said. Even if annihilation is certain? Yes, that is irrational? No, Verix replied softly. It is human. Tal processed that. Commander, are we still observers? Verix looked back at the house full of laughter. No. A distant rumble echoed on the horizon. Not thunder. Not wind. Something. Artificial. Tal scanned immediately. Multiple atmospheric entries detected. Large. Fast. Military signatures. The coalition fleet had arrived, and they were not coming to study. They were coming to claim. Verix felt a decision forming in his core. One that would change everything, because if the fleet attacked, they would not be fighting a storm, they would be fighting something far more dangerous. Humans protecting home. The fleet entered Earth's sky without asking. That was their first mistake. Fire streaked across the night. Dozens of massive coalition warships burned through the clouds. Engines glowing like falling stars. The ground shook. Windows rattled. Humans stepped outside. Not screaming. Watching. Hank squinted upward. Well, he muttered. Reckon those ain't weather balloons. Commander Verix stood in the yard, staring at the ships. His species recognized that formation. Siege posture. Orbital dominance pattern. They were not here to talk. Tal's voice shook slightly. Commander, this is an enforcement fleet. Yes? Protocol states we surrender Earth for classification and occupation. Verix looked toward the farmhouse. Martha was handing out blankets to neighbors. Children were being moved inside calmly. Hank was loading ammunition into Sinju. Something old and very mechanical. Verix felt something he had not felt in Cycle's conflict, because protocol said one thing, but instinct said another. A massive beam of light struck an empty field 2 miles away. The ground exploded. Dirt shot hundreds of meters into the air. A warning shot. The sky lit up with a transmission. A coalition general appeared in hologram form above the town. "Unregistered alien unit," the voice thundered. "You will stand down. The planet is now under coalition control for strategic resource assessment." The humans stared at the glowing figure. Linda stepped forward slowly, cigarette still in her mouth. "Strategic resource, my ass," she muttered. The hologram continued. "Native species will be catalogued. Resistance will be neutralized." Silence spread across the field. Then Cody stepped out from behind a truck, SHIRTLESS, carrying something illegal. "You neutralize this," he shouted at the sky. The hologram blinked. "Identify that individual." Felt it happen to shift? The moment humans decided. Hank stepped forward beside Cody. "Son," he said calmly, "you might want to duck." Before the fleet could fire a rocket launched from somewhere in the trees. It slammed into a descending troop. Carrier. The ship wobbled. Didn't explode. But it got the message. The humans were not waiting. They were not negotiating. They were fighting Varex. Feltol. "Look at him, Commander." "Your orders?" Above them, more carriers descended. Coalition ground troops dropped in perfect formation. Advanced armor, energy, shields, precision weapons. The aliens landed smoothly in the fields. And then something incredible happened. Gunshots echoed from the tree line. Trucks roared forward. Farmers, hunters, mechanics, veterans, nobody had uniforms, nobody had command chains, but they moved. Like they had done this before. Improvised explosives detonated under alien armor. Homemade drones buzzed overhead. One coalition soldier froze as something hit his helmet. Arakasoon. Angry. Vrex stared. This was chaos. But it was controlled chaos. Humans did not fight clean. They fought personal. Every barn, every ditch. Every tractor became a weapon, Tal whispered in disbelief. "They are not retreating." "No," Varek said quietly. "They are home." A coalition captain landed near the farmhouse. He scanned Virex instantly. "You are in violation of command protocol." "Yes. You will assist in pacifying this zone." Varix looked at Hank loading shells, at Martha pulling injured neighbors. Inside. At a child holding a flashlight steady for her father. He made his choice. Varek stepped forward, activated his own weapon, and pointed it at the coalition captain. "No?" The captain hesitated. "You would betray the coalition for primitives?" Varix's voice was calm. "You misunderstand?" He fired. The captain's shield shattered. "Primitives adapt." The humans saw it, an alien turning on his own fleet. A roar went up across the field. Cody laughed wildly. "I like this one." The battle shifted instantly. Coalition troops now fighting both humans and one of their own commanders. Tal hesitated for one final second, then joined Varix. More of the alien expedition followed. Not out of duty, out of choice. Above them, orbital. Ships began recalculating. This was no longer an easy seizure. This was a hostile world with defenders, and defenders that did not fear death. Suddenly, a strange sound echoed across the sky. A civilian satellite signal hijacked the coalition frequency. Jeanette's voice cut through every comm system. "Hey space idiots. You picked the wrong planet." Video feeds flooded alien visors. Millions of humans worldwide, responding. Mobilizing. Weapons, vehicles, soldiers, even. Governments moving. Coalition analysts panicked. This was not a fractured species, it was unified under threat, and that was far more dangerous. The fleet commander finally gave the order. Withdraw heavy assets. Reassess. For the first time in recorded coalition history, they hesitated. Varix watched as troop carriers began retreating. Not fully, but enough. The humans did not cheer. They simply stood, ready, waiting for round two. The sky grew quieter, ships rose back. Into orbit, temporary retreat. Hank walked up beside Varix. You just made yourself an enemy of your own kind, he said calmly. Varix nodded. Yes. Hank extended a hand. Well, welcome to Earth. Varix stared at the gesture, then clasped it in orbit. The coalition fleet regrouped. Their report would shake the galaxy. Earth was not a resource, it was a problem, and narrated had allies. The coalition did not attack again that night. They watched, and that was their second mistake. In orbit, Fleet Command ran simulations, outcome projections, invasion models, population resistance curves. Every scenario ended the same way. High casualties, long war, unstable occupation, and something far worse spread. Because the longer they stayed in Earth's orbit, the more human transmissions they intercepted. Social media, live, streams, global broadcasts. Humanity was not fracturing, it was uniting. Nations that argued yesterday were coordinating airspace. Today, rivals were sharing defense codes, factories were switching production. Civilian networks became logistics. Hubs, farmers, engineers, gamers, retirees, all moving fast. Commander Varix stood beside Pangaea Fank on the roof of the half-destroyed farmhouse. They both looked up at the fleet. They're thinking. Varix said. Hank nodded. Good. Why gooder means they're scared. In orbit, the coalition high commander finally spoke. This planet is not worth the cost. Another officer objected. But it is a Class 12 death world. It should be a conquest achievement. The commander stared at the data. No. He enlarged a global transmission feed. Humans were not begging, not surrendering, they were organizing. Laughing in the face of fear. Making memes about alien ships. Preparing. They do not fear extinction, the commander said slowly. They prepare for it. Silence filled the bridge. An analyst spoke carefully. Sir, projections show that if we engage fully, the species will reverse engineer captured technology within 1 to 2 decades. And then, they will come for us. The commander made his decision. Broadcast planetary declaration. On Earth, every screen flickered. Phones, TVs, billboards, even the small gaths. Station sign down the road glitched briefly. The hologram of the coalition commander appeared over Kansas skies once more. This world is designated sovereign. The humans stared up. You are not to be engaged. You are not to be harvested. You are not to be claimed. A pause. Then the most shocking sentence of all. Earth is hereby classified untouchable. Silence. Then Linda shouted, Well, damn right. The fleet began ascending. Engines glowing brighter as they turned away from Earth. Hank exhaled slowly. Guess they ain't as dumb as they look. Varix watched the ships leave orbit. They will not forget this. Neither will we, Hank replied. Around the world, humans celebrated. Not with parades, not with victory speeches, just relief and memes. Thousands of memes, within hours. Earth had already named the event, the day they tried. Varix stood quietly as Marthia handed him another plate of food. You staying? She asked. Yes. Good, she smiled. Roof needs fixing. Days passed. The Coalition officially placed a quarantine marker around Earth's system, a rare classification. Dangerous, not because of weapons, but because of culture. Because Earth did something no simulation predicted. It turned chaos into unity. It turned fear into motivation. It turned invasion into a warning in the Galactic Council chamber. Months later, reports continued. Other species had begun adopting human habits. Dark humor in war briefings. Improvised problem-solving, unusual loyalty bonds. A junior diplomat nervously whispered, "The infection is spreading." The senior ambassador sighed. It was always going to back on Earth. Varex stood in a small hardware store holding a hammer. Tal examined something called duct tape. Hank leaned against a shelf. "You regret it?" he asked Varex, "betraying your own fleet?" Varex looked around. Humans arguing about paint colors, children running past, country music playing softly. "No," he said. "I chose the stronger side." Hank grinned. "Damn right you did." That night, Varex recorded his final log. Earth is not a death world, it is a forge. It forges survivors. And if the galaxy is wise, it will never corner humanity again. He ended the log and stepped outside. Above him, the sky was clear. No ships, just stars. Hank walked out beside him. "Pretty, ain't it?" "Yes," Varex said quietly. "But dangerous." Hank smiled. "Everything worth protecting is." And somewhere, deep in space, beyond Coalition borders, a small group of alien commanders studied Earth. Carefully, not as prey, not as territory, but as something far more powerful. A species that survived its own chaos and learned to laugh while doing it. And one day, when humanity finally reached the stars, they would remember who tried to claim their home.